load balancing implementation using VN client. In the last session we have completed our discussion related to load balancing implementation using VN client. Load balancing implementation using VN client. Got it? Load balancing implementation using VN client. So internally VN client is using ribbon. Internally VN client, when we have an instance with, when we have a REST API with multiple instances, when we run one API with multiple instances, then we will have multiple URLs for that API. Every instance will be, one instance will run in one server. One instance will run in one server. Every server will have its own URL. Every server will have its own URL. Every server will have its own URL. Now, when we are using VN client, for the VN client we are giving service name to access. VN client is used for inter-service communication. For inter-service communication, we are giving service name for the VN client. For inter-service communication, we are giving service name for VN client. For inter-service communication, we are giving service name for VN client. VN client will get the service URL from the service registry. VN client will get service URL. VN client will get service URL based on service name from service registry. VN client will get service URL based on service name from service registry. If one service is having more than one URL, if one service having more than one URL, then VN client will use ribbon. VN client will use ribbon to distribute the load to multiple instances. This is what we discussed in the last session with the load balancing. This is the discussion that we had in the last session related to load balancing. Are you guys clear with this? VN client we are using. VN client will talk to service registry to get the service URLs. We have a service name. For the service name, multiple service URLs are available. Based on the service URLs, we are getting the, based on the service name, we are getting the service URLs. When there is more than one service URL, VN client is internally using ribbon to distribute the load to multiple instances. Perfect. Guys, today I will discuss one small topic. Then I will go for doubts. Now, let me tell you the plan. This is what we discussed in the last session. Now, today I will explain today's session. We will talk about application.properties file versus application.yml file. Application.properties file versus application.yml file, that I will discuss today's session. If time permits, I will go for doubts clarifications also. And tomorrow we have a class. Tomorrow's session timings. Tomorrow Sunday. I want to take some extra time, guys. So tomorrow I'm going to take the session from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. IST. Some simple topics are there. Those topics we are going to discuss. 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's fine for me. For tomorrow's session. Is this comfortable for all of you? Yeah, because last 3 days or 2 days I was not able to take the sessions due to my travel. So tomorrow I will spend 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. IST. So 3 days, 3 hours of session I'm going to take. I will discuss a small topics like what is admin server, what is admin client, what is admin server, what is admin client, how to work with that. Okay, and what is the distributor log tracing, how to work with the Jipkin and Slate. Those concepts I'm going to discuss in the tomorrow's session. Okay, tomorrow's session timings. Tomorrow nothing but it is what? 06th March. Same Zoom link guys for tomorrow also. 4 p.m. we are going to start the session. 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. IST because tomorrow is Sunday. I don't want to take at the late night. So 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. I will take tomorrow. Is this fine for all of you? Microservices topics only we are going to discuss in the tomorrow's session. Microservices topics only we are going to discuss in the tomorrow's session. Got it? Fine. Perfect. Good. Next. So what is this application.properties file and application.yml file? Application.properties file and application.yml file. Application.properties file and application.yml file. When we create Spring Boot application, by default, that properties file will be created. Am I right? When we create Spring Boot application, by default, application.properties file will be created. When we create Spring Boot application, by default, application.properties file will be created. File will be created inside src/main/resources folder. In this file, we are going to configure the properties in the form of key value pair. This file we will use to configure application related configuration properties. This file we will use to configure application related configuration properties. In application properties, example, what we are going to configure here, we are going to configure server.port is equal to some 9090, spring.application.name is equal to some name that I am giving now, welcome service like this, view resolver, MVC view resolver, spring.mvc.view.suffix.jsp, spring.mvc.view.prefix, spring.mvc.view.prefix is equal to /views/pages, something like this. Now I'm going to configure these kind of properties. Data source properties also we can configure. Data source properties also we will configure in our application.properties file. In the application properties file, we are going to configure. Application properties file will represent the data in the form of key value pair. Application.properties file will represent data in key value format. Application.properties file will represent data in key value format. As an alternative for application properties, application.yml came into picture. Now in the Spring Boot, you can use application.properties or you can use application.yml. Application.yml is the alternate for application.properties. Good. Now, instead of application.properties, we can use application.yml file. Instead of application.properties properties, we can use application.yml file also. YML file. Instead of applicational properties, we can use application.yml. YML stands for yet another markup language. YML or YAML. Both are fine. Anything. You can keep the extension as a YML or you can keep the extension as a YAML. YML or YAML stands for yet another markup language. YML or YAML stands for yet another markup language. Now, YML files are more readable than properties files. YML files are more readable than properties files. YML files are more readable than properties files. Now, let us see syntactical difference between .properties file and .yml file. So if I want to write the properties in the properties file, what is the syntax? And if I want to go with YML, what is the syntax? Let's take for example application.properties. This side and this side I'm taking application.yml. Now, so if I want to configure server port in the properties file, how we will configure? In the YML file, how we will configure? Let us see the difference. Now, in the applicational properties, we will represent everything in the form of key and value. I will configure like this. Server.port is equal to 9090. In the YML file, we are going to represent this in the hierarchical format. How I will represent? Server, colon, enter, one space, port, colon, 9090. That is the difference. Here, this space represents indent space. This space represents, this port is the child property of the server. Server.port. Port is inside the server. Now, if you see here, how to configure view resolver. Spring dot MVC dot view dot prefix is equal to /views /pages. Then I will configure spring dot MVC dot view dot suffix is equal to .jsp. Server port is equal to 9090. Spring MVC view prefix views and pages. Spring MVC view suffix is .jsp. Now, how to configure that view resolver in the YML? Now, you observe. First one is spring colon. Inside the spring, what is there? MVC is there. MVC is there. MVC colon. Inside the MVC, what is there? View is there. View colon. Inside the view, what is there? Prefix is there. Prefix is there. Colon /views /pages. Inside the prefix. Now, spring is already there. MVC already there. View already there. Just you need to write the suffix here. Just you need to write the suffix here. .jsp. Now, if you see, here I am writing spring MVC view 2 times. For the prefix I am writing all the 3 parts. For the suffix also I am writing all the 3 parts. Spring dot MVC dot view dot prefix. Then I am giving views /pages. And for suffix also I am giving spring dot MVC dot view dot suffix is equal to .jsp. Spring dot MVC dot view dot prefix is equal to /views /pages. Spring dot MVC dot view dot suffix is equal to .jsp. If you see, the words are repeated here. Spring MVC view. Spring MVC view. The words are repeated. You understand? The words are repeated. But here, inside the spring, MVC available. Inside the MVC, view available. Inside the view, prefix available, suffix available. View having 2 childs, prefix, suffix. That's why prefix, suffix are starting on the same line. Prefix, suffix starting on the same line. Prefix, suffix are the childs of the view. View is the child of the MVC. MVC is the child of the spring. MVC is the child of the spring. These spaces are important here. These spaces. If you give prefix and suffix in the starting position, is it valid? Is it valid or invalid? Can I give the prefix suffix from the starting of the file? No, because prefix suffix are inside the view. The spacing is very important here. Those spaces are called as indent spaces. Now, I want to configure application name. How we will configure the application name? Spring dot application dot name is equal to welcome API. I want to configure application name in the properties file. How I will configure? Spring dot application dot name is equal to welcome API. Now, similarly, I want to configure the application name. Here Spring is already available for the prefix. Again we are writing the Spring for the suffix. Again we are writing the Spring for application name. But here, do I need to write the Spring application name everything from the starting, or Spring is already available? Spring is already available. Where is the application? Application available inside the Spring. Okay, from here I have to start. Here I will specify application name correctly in the MVC point. Where the MVC starting? In the same position I will start my application. Application colon. Inside the application, name is available. Name space. What is the name you want to give? You can give like this. Here, how many times the Spring is written? 3 times the Spring is written. But here, only one time. Now tell me, do we have more readability in the YML? Yes or no? Now tell me, how many childs available for the Spring in the YML? How many childs available for the Spring in the YML? One is MVC, another one is application. How many childs available for the view? 2, prefix and suffix. How many childs available for application? 1 child, that is application name. Guys, do you understand the difference between properties file and YML file now? So which one is recommended? YML file is recommended than properties. That's the reason nowadays in the projects people are using YML. That is the reason nowadays in the companies people are using YML instead of the properties. Okay. So in the Spring Boot, whenever we create the Spring Boot application, by default, application and properties file will be created. When we create the Spring Boot application, by default, application and properties file will be created inside SRC main resource folder. When we create a Spring Boot application, by default, application and properties file will be created inside src/main/resources folder. This file we are using to configure application related properties or application related configuration properties. Okay, server port, spring.application.name welcome service, spring.mvc.view.suffix is equal to .jsp, spring.mvc.view.prefix is equal to /views/pages. Data source properties also we can give. Now, properties file will represent the data in the key value format. Okay, here server.port is the key, 9090 is the value. Application and properties file will represent the data in the key value format. Instead of application and properties, we can use application.yml file also. YML stands for yet another markup language. YML files are more readable than properties files. In the Spring Boot, you can use either application and properties or you can use application and YML, no problem. But name should be application only, guys. Name should be application. You cannot change that name. The name should be application.properties or .yml. Okay. So what is the syntactical difference between properties and YML? What is the syntactical difference between properties file and YML file? Here we will give server.port is equal to 9090 key value pair. But here hierarchical structure with indent space, property inside that child property. You see the difference. spacing is very important in the YML. That is called indent space. If you don't give the space correctly, then properties, that YML file will become invalid. If you don't give the space correctly in the YML, that file will become invalid. Spring Boot application cannot start. If we don't give the indent spaces correctly in the YML, then Spring Boot application cannot start. Note, while working with the YML file, we need to take very special care about indent spaces in YML file. If we don't give indent spaces correctly, then YML file will become invalid. Then boot application cannot start. Okay, so whenever you are working with YML file, while working with YML files, we need to take very special care about indent spaces in YML file. If we don't give indent spaces correctly, then YML file will become invalid. Then boot application cannot start. Got it? Now let me go here. Let me create one project. Let me go here. Let me go to my IDE. Let me create one project here. Can you see my IDE now? All of you, can you see my IDE? Perfect. Yeah. File, new, Spring Starter project. I'm creating a project with the name called 48 Spring Boot Microservice YML app. Click on next. Dev Tools, Web Dependency, I'm selecting. Click on next. Click on finish. Click on next. Click on finish. YML app. By default, it will create with dot properties only, guys. Still, it is getting created. Hold on. The project is getting created. Yeah. Can you see the resources folder? What is available here? Application.properties available. So what we will do? Server.port is equal to 9090. I have configured port number in the properties file. You got my point. I have configured the port number as 9090. It is a properties file. Now I will go to the start class. Can I make my start class as a REST controller? Guys? Yes, we can make our start class as a REST controller by using @REST controller annotation. I'm making the start class itself as a REST controller by using that annotation. Then I can write one method just to display a welcome message. Public string welcome. I'm simply giving this method. I'm simply mapping this method to GET request. I'm not giving any URL pattern also by default. Return welcome to Ashok IT. Return welcome to Ashok IT. I'm not giving any URL pattern because with the slash it will be accessible. With the slash it will be accessible. Okay. Now simple. I have created one Spring Boot project. Let me stop all the other projects here. Close unrelated projects. All the other projects will be stopped. Only this 48 application is open. I created one Spring Boot application. In this application properties file, I have configured the server port. Server port is equal to 9090. Server port is equal to 9090. Then inside the start class, I'm using REST controller. So you know that already what is REST controller. In that I am using one method which is binded to get request. I'm not giving any URL pattern. With by default it is binded to slash. Localhost colon 9090 slash. This will be accessed. Let's run this. Currently I'm using properties file only here. I have not changed anything. First let me run it. Run as boot app. Run as boot app. Run as boot app. Application started. Now go to browser. Localhost colon 9090 slash. Access it. Are we able to access that method? Are we able to access that method, guys? Yes, we are able to access that method. We are able to access that method. Okay, that's good. Now let's come here. I don't want to use properties file. I want to use YML. Already which file is available? That properties file is available. Now I want to go for what? YML. Simple. Right click, convert dot properties to dot YML. If you are using Spring Toolsuit IDE, then you will have this option. Right click, convert dot properties to dot YML. Now see here, server.port which is available in the properties file will be converted to this in the YML. That is the default option. Right click, convert dot properties to dot YML. Convert dot properties to dot YML or YML. Anything is fine. YML stands for yet another markup language. Now see, that file is renamed to application.yml. In this, how it is there? Server colon space is there. That space is called indent space port. For example, it is not there. How can I write it? You simply use the shortcut server.port. Click on enter. It is adjusting that space. Now you remove it. Server.port. Control space. Select it. It is adjusting the syntax as per YML standard. Now I want to configure application name. How I will configure? Spring dot application dot name. Enter. It is adjusting that name. I mean giving this name as welcome API. I want to disable the banner. What I will do? Spring dot main dot banner mode. Spring dot main dot banner mode. Spring dot main dot banner. Spring already available. Inside the Spring main is coming. Banner dot mode off. I want to stop that banner. Control Shift F. It is alignment. Spring dot banner mode is equal to off. What is the mode of the banner I am giving? Off. That means I don't want to print the banner. See, server port, server.port. Inside the server, port is available. Before the port, some space is there. That space represents port is the child of the server. Now, inside the Spring, application is there. Inside the application, name is available. So it is called spring.application.name. Spring, inside the Spring, application is one child, main is one child. Spring main.banner mode. Spring.main.banner mode off. So inside the Spring, how many childs are there? Two childs are there. One is application, another one is the main. Now do you understand how to work with YML? Just you need to use the control space shortcut, then it will adjust that space. It will adjust that space. Got it? If you want to configure a data source, I'm trying to write like this. Spring dot data source dot driver class. Space is adjusting. Inside the spring, data source is coming. It is equal to spring dot application dot name, spring dot main dot banner mode, spring dot data source dot driver class name. So these three application, main and data source are the childs of the spring property. So I hope you understand how can we write the properties in the YML. Do you want me to write once again? Server.port is there now. How I'm going to write it? Can you observe? Am I writing the spaces properly or I'm using shortcut? Server.port. Auto suggestion is coming. Server.port. Control space. Suggestion is coming. Select it. It is adjusting the space. Ritu Singh, you got it? Now, I want to disable the banner. So what I will do? Spring dot main dot banner hyphen mode. Control space. Suggestion is coming. Select it. Banner mode off. Banner is stopped. I want to configure application name. I'm keeping my cursor at the starting position of the file and I'm writing spring dot application dot name. Auto suggestion. Select it. Name I am giving. This is welcome API. Now control shift F. Alignment. Everything is aligned. Banner mode instead of false I'm giving it as off. Control shift F for alignment. Suppose for example if I give banner mode without space, what happened? Can I view like this? Is it valid? It is not valid. Because spaces are very important. Then it is valid. You understand how to work with YML? Guys, you understood how to work with YML? Okay. Very good. Now, let us see here. We are having Eureka client 2 na? Eureka client 2 or let me go for Eureka client 1. That is our welcome service. In that welcome service we are having properties file. Can we convert the properties file to YML? Here we are having a properties file. Server port is there, application name is there, Eureka client is there. Can we change this properties file to YML file? Right click, convert dot properties to .yml. Click on OK. Now open this YML. Everything is adjusted as per YML syntax. Yes or no? Is it adjusted or not? Yes. Now, similarly, let's go for client 1, 2 also. Client 2 also dot properties file is there. How it is configured here? It is configured here with properties. Now right click, convert dot properties to .yml. Now this is also adjusted as per YML syntax. Now let's go to API gateway. I think in the API gateway already we are using YML. Yeah, it is already a YML file. Server port, Spring application name, Eureka client, Joule proxy. These all are YML syntaxes only. Now you understand what is this file now? Now you understand application.yml. Inside the server port is there. Inside the Spring application is there. Eureka is a separate property. Joule is a separate property. Inside the Joule prefix is there and the routes available. Inside the routes R1 available. Inside the R1 path available, service ID available. Inside the routes R2 available. Inside the R2 path available, service ID available. Is this clear for all of you? Is this clear for all of you? Very good. Now service registry. Here also properties file is there. I configured server port. Right click. Convert .properties to .yml. Convert .properties to .yml. In the application.yml, just the server port is configured. Okay, all the projects we developed for microservices are using YML files. From 44, everything is a YML. From 44, everything is a YML. So with this, I hope you understand the difference between properties files and YML files. Can you please read it once? All of you, please read this. Read these notes. Good. Now read it. Yeah, see the syntax differences between the properties file and YML file. Understood? So we should be very careful. We should be very careful while working with the properties file and YML file. And sometimes people may get a doubt, sir, can I use both? Can I use both in one project? Application.yml is already available. Let me create another file with a name called application.properties. With a name called application.properties. Now here I will configure server.port is equal to 90 or 7070. I will use 7070. In the YML, which is available, 9090. In the properties file, which is available, 7070. Okay. Now, which one will be considered now? Right click, run as boot app. Right click, run as boot app. Server.port is equal to 7070. In the properties file. In the YML file we are having 9090. Two files I have. One is the .properties, another one is the .yml. Right click, run as boot app. See the console. What is happening? What is happening? It is not taking anything. It is getting confused. It is getting confused. Okay? So you are not supposed to use both. Got it? Now I am deleting that properties. Or else let's do one thing. In the YML, let's stop the banner. In the properties, let's have the port. Different properties I am giving in both. Different properties I am giving in both. In the properties I am giving port number as 7070. In the YML I am starting the banner mode as off. Let's try. Run as boot app. What is happening? Is it taking the port from the properties and banner from the YML? Earlier I configured port in the both, but now port is there in the properties file, banner is available in the YML file. Is it considering that or it is not considering that? It is not working. It is not working. Samjay? It is getting confused. It is an ambiguity. It is getting confused. It is an ambiguity issue. Port I am configuring now in the YML as 9090. Properties file I have deleted. Right click, run as boot app. Now let's adjust these spaces properly. Application.yml. Refresh this project. Run as boot app. It's giving issue. We need to update this project, sir. I have only YML file. In that YML I configure the port as 9090. Now properties file is deleted. If you update this project and run, then it will take the port number as 9090. Okay, so can we use both properties and YML at a time? Can we use both properties and YML at a time? we got to use. We will use only one, either properties or YML. Properties or YML. Okay. Now, which one is easy? Properties file is easy or YML file is easy? YML is easy and YML is more readable than properties. YML is more readable than properties. Okay. And guys, as I mentioned, tomorrow we have a class. 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Tomorrow session timings 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. same Zoom link. Don't miss it. Long session we are planning for tomorrow. Morning I am already having another class, Srikanth. Morning class is already there for 18 GRTP people. Morning 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Morning 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. we are already having a class for 18 GRTP. For 13 and 14 SBMS people, tomorrow I am taking the class from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Got it? Yeah. What is the agenda? Which topics? I will decide that. So there is nothing in my mind as of now. I will see which topics I can complete in the 3 hours of time. I will explain those topics. Yeah, data JPA I think is keep on postponing. I will need to take the data JPA also. I will conduct the data JPA classes as well, sir. I have to take it. That is pending from my side. Yeah. Good. Fine. Tomorrow morning, class for 18 GRT, not for 19 GRT. It is for 18 GRT, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Evening, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. our class. Okay? Fine. Good. So can you guys practice YML files before coming to tomorrow's session at 4 p.m.? Can you guys practice YML file before coming to tomorrow's session at 4 p.m.? Okay? Good. Fine. Thank you guys. So tomorrow we'll continue. With this I'm stopping. Good night. Have a good sleep and we'll meet again tomorrow.